And we are rolling on October 4th in Communications 103, where we're about to hear an extemporaneous speech from James on is the U.S. doing enough to help the Syrian refugees? Here we are in time. Get out of time?
Time?
Yeah.
Timer.
What's your code?
No.
What's your secret?
Exit.
Do you need a timer or do you need like
Where's the timer?
stopwatch?
Yes, stopwatch, yeah. Okay. And we are rolling.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That is the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty, written by Emma Lazarus. The question that was posed to me was, is the U.S. doing enough to help the Syrian refugees? And my answer is no. And the reason that is because one, we're not doing our part compared to other countries. Number two, these people are safe. They are safe, they will not harm us. Number three, we have the best vetting process in the world, the most extensive vetting process in the world. And let me remind you that these people are fleeing ISIS. The same ISIS that will kill women for showing skin. The same ISIS that will put women into sex slavery. The same ISIS that beheads journalists and burns people alive. We need to help them. They need us. First, we're not doing our fair share compared to other countries. Countries that have a smaller population and a smaller economy have taken in more refugees. First, what's our part? What have we done so far? Well, we have a population of 320 million people. We have a GDP of $17 trillion, and we've taken in 10,000 refugees. Compare this to Canada. Canada has a population 1/10 the size of us, 30 million. They have a GDP that's minuscule compared to ours, $1.5 trillion, and these are all in US dollars. And they've taken in 3 times the amount of refugees as us, 30,000 refugees. That's nothing compared to Germany. Germany has a population of 80 million, and they have a GDP of $3.5 trillion. And they've taken in a whopping 300,000 refugees compared to our measly 10,000. And even with that astronomical number, Turkey is perhaps the best example of humanity bringing in more people. And of course they are closer to the conflict, but that doesn't mean they have to take in refugees. They have a population of 80 million, roughly the size of Germany, but they have a GDP that's under $1 trillion, minuscule, under $1 trillion. But they've taken in 2.5 million refugees. 2.5 million is astronomical, unbelievable, and I'm not asking the U.S. to do that. I'm asking us to do more. These people are not dangerous. Why can't we bring them more? And the way that you can see that they're not dangerous is 80% of them are women or children under the age of 12. More than that, you're more likely to get hit and killed by a lightning strike than for a refugee to commit a terrorist act. You're more likely to be electrocuted and die. You're more likely to get in a fireworks accident and die. You're more likely to fall down and die than a Syrian refugee to commit a terrorist attack against the U.S. And why is that? That brings me to my third point. Why is that? Because we have the best vetting process in the entire world. The most extensive, the most strenuous vetting process in the entire world. The vetting process is so long and so strenuous that I didn't even want to write and point out every bit, but I've cut down the list and then cut it down again. And here's the final synopsis of what I have
3 left.
for the vetting process. First, they have to go to the UN and get recommended to the US. Only 1% of refugees make it past this stage. Then once they're assigned to the US, they go to the Resettlement Support Center, which is funded by the US. After that, they go to security checks with the FBI, the National Counterterrorism Center, the Department of Homeland Security, and the State Department. And because they're Syrian refugees specifically, they also have to go to the USCIS Fraud Detection and National Security Directorate. Now they are halfway through. That's only halfway in the vetting process. After that, they go to do interviews at the Department of Homeland Security. They have biometric security checks, medical checks, and then finally they're assigned to a place where they can go and stay. But they still have to go through travel checks and travel security measures, and once they get here, they have to apply for a green card, which has its own checks, its own security checks in place.
2 left.
The whole process takes about 2 years, and all the while, they are being checked and rechecked against the databases for updated information to see if they are a threat. Now, in conclusion, we need to take in more of these people. They need us. We are not doing our part compared to other countries. They are safe, and we have the vetting process that makes sure we get the right refugees into our system. And I want to leave you with one quote. This is from Senator Elizabeth Warren in 2015. "We are not a nation that delivers children back into the hands of ISIS murderers." Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was 5:48. Okay, stay up there for some feedback now. We'll start in the rear. What do you like? Stand up, say your name.
Oh, and we all go around.
We go around the horn.
Okay.
Hi, Lauren.
I thought he did a really good job. He hardly looked at his paper and he was maintaining eye contact with all of us the whole time. You could tell he was very well rehearsed. And I think he's leading by a great example for us all to follow.
Thank you, Lauren. Improvement?
Improvement.
Good.
Sorry. I think that was great. Improvement. Obviously, probably try to not have paper at all. And then I think maybe give some more specifics. Like you could have told a very specific story about a woman and child facing a really tough struggle with some things out there.
Okay.
Good, yeah. Personalized it. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. James, let me give you some feedback. Thank you for going first, by the way. I appreciate that very much. Just doing enough to help Syrian refugees. You gave an emphatic no. You started off with a great quote from Emma Lazarus. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. It's a very meaningful quote, and when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you'll see that you kind of read it kind of quickly and skipped over a little of its meaning, and you could have given certain key words emphasis and made it more of an emblem that really meant something and means something to all of us and to the people in the room and to America. It's sort of a guiding principle. Yes. So you repeated in your thesis, you answered the question, is it doing enough? My answer is no. The United States is not doing enough. The United States needs to take in more refugees displaced by ISIS. My first concern is I think that you would have been better served by specifying the number of what more meant.
Yeah.
And instead of just saying more, do we take 300,000 or 1,000,000
Yeah.
like Germany is doing, or do we? What's the number, and how many can we assimilate, and how many can our system check judiciously, etc.? So specificity would have been helpful. Your preview was excellent. We knew what your 3 reasons were going to be. You gave them. That was well done. Your SIG statement was very telling. It was very emotional. You told us the barbarism of ISIS. If a woman walks out of the house without covering her head, women as sex slaves. They chop people's heads off. They burn people alive. We know what animals they've been described to be in the mass media, right? And that was, and that got your audience interested more in the topic. Now, that got us interested in the topic of who they were fleeing. I would have thought also you could have, and this was sort of came from the suggestion back here that, you know,
Oh, a specific
story or a mention of just, this is a calamity of untold magnitude of just how much displacement and suffering the Syrian collapse has caused. And so you could have equally done it that way. Not faulting you for what you did. It still was a pretty decent SIG statement. On your major argument, let me give you a couple of overarching things. Remember, it's too late for James, but not for the rest of you. James, you'll notice in the models, especially in the first model, that there was a lot of citations given of evidence that supported claims.
Yes.
We call that argument from authority, and it's something I care very much about. And I'm not going to hold everyone to it too much on the first one, but I want us, especially since we haven't had the library lecture yet, but I want us to move toward having expert testimony be brought into our speeches to testify, to prove our points, see? To make our arguments better.
Would that be in quotes or statistics?
That would be in quotes, and that would be statistics, and I'll show you where I think they could have come in. Now, under B, you did have some statistics. What you didn't do was tell us where this came from. Was this from the statistical abstract? Was this from the New York Times? What year was this?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Those stats are from, I believe, 2 separate places. One of them is Amnesty International, which is the actual refugee numbers. And then the other one, I'm blanking on where it's from. But how do you say that in a speech if they're from 2 separate places?
Say, well, you say that. You say Amnesty International and The Guardian in 2016 gave us a composite of how many all the countries, major countries, have taken in, and here they are. Mm-hmm. So it was impressive that you did your homework, and it was a good job of shaming the U.S., I suppose. We've only taken in 10,000, and Canada has taken 30, and Germany 300, or maybe 1,000,000 if you count the illegals too. You know, so that first point was, there's a need, we haven't done our fair share. You proved that point. But it would have been stronger if we'd known where your statistics had come from, okay? On your second argument, the second reason that contrary to what is propagated, the refugees are not dangerous, you know.
Okay.
Here you tell us that they are 80% of them are women and children under 12, and all these things were more likely to be hit by a bolt of lightning than to be hit by terrorists. Fascinating claims. Where's the evidence?
The 80% comes from one source, and then the odds for the other one come from other source, and it's an
Okay, and and again, I would like to have seen a bibliography at the end,
Oh, okay.
APA style, the APA style, everybody, bibliography. So we're looking to see where you got your evidence and where it came from. So I knew that this came from somewhere, but you didn't cite it. But anyway, you presented a case that these refugees are pretty harmless, right? Now, just to play devil's advocate for a moment for you, Germany is having terrible problems with their refugees. And maybe we can avoid some of the problems that Germany is facing. And maybe they took too many too fast without vetting them well enough. But some of the issues that they face. They've had sexual assaults, they've had robberies, they've had all kinds of problems and jihadist acts in the country of Germany. So that experience alone gives some people here in America pause and says, we need to be careful, or we need to, err on the safe side. Okay. So here was your real crowning glory, was your third paragraph, and this is where you were trying to say, why are these odds so minimal? And here's my third reason, and this was your big crowning glory, was the vetting process. Once again, I don't hear any citations from this.
Yeah.
I have no idea if you're lying through your teeth. I know you're not. Or if you really made this stuff up, or you're citing it. The UCLA debate team debated the Chinese debate team, so I happen to know all these statistics are true and these are facts because I research this stuff myself. But so I knew you weren't lying, but your audience doesn't know because you didn't cite the evidence, so you needed to cite the evidence. Part of the assumption of this testing thing is, these people are coming out of Syria pretty paperless, and it's pretty tough to completely check.
Okay.
And be completely 100% safe.
Yeah.
And then there's the other question of assimilation. I'm not sure about biometrics and medical checks, but that's okay. Green card, and the whole process takes 2 years. And so
the green card, they get an extra year.
Extra year.
Within
So
that year they arrive.
So you gave a pretty persuasive argument that, my God, we have this vetting process from heaven, and no bad apple is going to get through. It would have been stronger had it been documented and proven, but you made your case that we have a strong vetting process. Now, the other question is about where they're placed and how they're placed. Are they placed in groups, or are they scattered about so they assimilate better, or are they, there's
My guess is it's
these
like
are
every other
tricky questions.
Usually it's like from the Vietnam War and from other refugee crises we've had, they usually get sent to a couple of communities. So like
Right.
Merced has a large, I forget what
Right.
ocean, I think it's
Right.
Ocean or something. And
Yeah.
So they get their own community, but it's not all in one area.
Yeah, same within Orange County for the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
There's a community, Westchester,
So I don't know if that's what they do
Westminster,
now,
yeah.
That's what they've done.
Okay, your summary was good. Sometimes people like to give a detailed summary and say, look, we got a big problem. We got a very serious problem. We're not doing our fair share. And these people are not a threat to us. We've got a great process. Therefore, you should And what you didn't have was you left out, you should conclude we're not doing our part and we should do more. That's what you left off, was the conclusion.
Okay.
You notice that's in the thing. And then the next thing is tie back. And the tie back was meant to be how you started, you ended with it.
Yeah.
And so you didn't want to go back to Emma Lazarus. Right, fine, you could have, and that would have been perfectly fine. So why don't we live up to the words that are engraved on the base of the Statue of Liberty? Send us your poor, your tired, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Well, I see no reason why we can't take our fair share. See, you could have just done it that way.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren, in some circles is a god, and in other circles she's not a god. So you probably want to choose somebody that's more of a demagogue in more circles. If you can find a quote like that you want to end on. I know you wanted to end on a strong note, which you did well with this ISIS murders. You wanted to go back to that, and you made that your focus instead of the pressing need. And I think this was, that was her point. Was that there's a human tragedy of the children of the hospitals, of the people drowning, and as they try to cross the ocean, and all this stuff. It's just awful. And that could have been in this speech. But overall, James, thanks for going first. You did an excellent job.
Do you want a cited version of this?
Yeah, I'd like a cited version of this. Okay. We have another volunteer.
I'll go.
Thank you.
Sorry, James, for coffee.
Oh, no, it was on you. I just read a major part.
I'm going to write the question on the
Yeah, on the board. Yeah, please. Yeah, that's great.
It was any ones. No one else.
Yeah.
Do you have a better syllabus?
Yes, I do. Would you like a copy?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
I also did not do APA citations, but I placed the articles in the back. For you.
Okay, good. That's good.
But I can bring in APA.
That's fine. Okay, you're different heights. Okay, yes. Yes, you are. Okay, good.
Is it okay if I move during this speech?
Yes, let's talk about movement right now.
Okay.
I prefer that you do move, that you move on each of the major points in your main body.
Okay.
That you move on the first reason over to the right, the second reason to the left, and my third reason back to center. I don't want you to pace and move a lot, but move purposefully. Okay, Rachel. Oh yes.
That's 2536.
Okay. Rachel Leah stands before us, managing attention. Okay, he's on his phone, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to herself, I really respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. You can take it 1/2 step forward. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Rachel Leah.
Hi, Rachel Leah.
All right, so raise your hands if you've been to a fast food restaurant, such as McDonald's, Taco Bell, or Long John Silver's in the past 6 months. Okay, how about 3 months? Keep your hands up if you've been there in the past week. Okay, well, if your hands still aren't up, your hands should be up if you've interacted with them in the past week. Because I bet for all of you in the past week, you've either gone through a McDonald's drive-thru, had a really cheap cup of coffee, you know, those really bad ones that are like $1.50, or have gone to a clothing store looking for a new shirt. That's right. What do all of these people have in common, you might ask? They all make minimum wage, and they all work in the service industry. According to FLSA, the Federal Labor Standards Association, the federal minimum wage right now is $7.25 an hour, and has been that way since 2009. Now, there recently has been this new push to make the federal minimum wage $15 an hour across the nation. That leads to my question, would a wage of $15 per hour be good for the U.S.? My answer is no. I do not believe that a wage of $15 an hour would be good for the United States. Now, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I do not think that a wage of $15 an hour would be good for the United States. The first reason is that most people work in the service industry, and that leads to automation. The second reason is that a lot of these services will need to be outsourced, which will lead to a loss of jobs for a lot of minority workers. And the third reason is that federal minimum wage and state minimum wage laws are different, and because cost disparities are very different across the nation, it would be unintelligent to make $15 minimum wage across the entire nation. Now, I'm going to break down what an average worker looks like to everyone so that you can better understand my argument that I'm going to make. So according to Fortune magazine, published in April 2015, they broke down the basic minimum wage worker. 42% of the United States is a federal minimum wage worker, as defined by the United States. They work in the service industry, which I'm going to argue later, and they also are a minority worker coming from either Hispanic, African American, or a female background. You might also ask, why is this significant to me? Well, guys, the election's coming up, and this is a huge issue in the debates. Everyone's talking about the federal minimum wage. Hillary Clinton isn't really giving us a number. Donald Trump isn't really giving us anything. So I think it's really important that we really understand this issue so that we're better educated when we make our decisions in November 2016. So the first reason that I think that federal minimum wage is bad for the United States is that it's going to automate the service industry. According to a Forbes article by author Ed Resnick, who actually was the ex-chief executive officer of McDonald's, wrote this article talking about the trajectory of McDonald's. Now, who better to talk about the trajectory than someone that's worked there for 3 decades? So he broke it down like this. Most people think that most of the money is on the top. They have enough profit to pay for everybody. But actually, for big corporations like McDonald's, that's not the case. According to Ed, 90% of these McDonald's franchises are franchised, which means that they're owned by small business owners, and right now they're only making 6 cents to every dollar. That means that if the federal minimum wage was increased to $15, their salaries would be $30,000 per year. Now that would give McDonald's 3 options. 1, they would have to raise their prices, which they're obviously not going to do because we all love our extra value meal and we all love our dollar menu. The next option is to lay off workers, and the third option is to automate service. Now, the second and third options are exactly what's going to happen. They're going to fire those workers and they're going to automate their service, which means that the next time you're ordering something, it'll probably be from a machine. Now, you might still doubt me and say, I see this online, it's totally not going to happen. But guess what? In Europe and Asia and other countries, it's already happening, and that would be the first thing to happen to McDonald's so that they can stay in business. Now, I feel that this is really sad because America really prides itself on that service industry where we're interacting with each other, we're respecting each other, and it would be really sad to lose those interactions. Now, the second reason that I think that raising the federal minimum wage of $15 would be bad for the United States is because it leads to outsourcing, and it also leads to the unemployment of many minority workers, who, as I mentioned before, are the majority of people making minimum wage. According to the Los Angeles Times in April 2016, there was an article published that said that this increase was actually as stupid as an idea as Donald Trump's idea to build that wall in Mexico. Now that is such a profound statement and obviously made me want to read more. This article went on to talk about how there were so many workers, for example, a guy named Felix who works in downtown LA, who's just been affected by the raise of $15 minimum wage here in California. He talked about how he actually had to raise his prices on his products from $5.50 to $6.50. And even though that jump doesn't seem like that big of a deal, he's actually lost a ton of customers, which leaves Felix with two options. The first option is that he has to lay off his workers, and the second option is that he has to outsource into another country. Those aren't great options, especially for a city that is really high in Hispanic workers. That would leave a lot of them out of a job. Now, I feel that this is also really upsetting because we pride ourselves on things being made in America, and the more that we continue, less and less stuff is being made in America, and it's because our costs would have to go up to keep up with the minimum wage. Now, the third reason that I think that minimum wage of $15 is not a good idea for the United States is because you really need to look at that word federal, and you need to look at the word 15. Federal means that this would apply to every single state across the nation, and it also means that the wage would be $15 for every single state across the nation. Now, according to Pew Research Center that did a study in 2016, they actually found that the cost of living is so significantly different from a state-to-state basis. For example, they did a research study in which they found that the $15 minimum wage in Georgia would cost about $17, while as in New York, it would only really quantify as $12. Still don't believe me, I did my own little research myself, and I looked up prices for rent. So we all hopefully live in UCLA or in Westwood, and our cost of rent is super high, right? So I pay about $1,000 to share a room, whereas if you look up a similar apartment in, let's say, Atlanta, Georgia, which I actually looked up, the cost of living there for that exact same apartment with the same square footage near the city is about half as much. That means that states such as California or New York that are currently pushing for this $15 might need it more than those other smaller states. Also, those other states might have different economies that are incomparable to cities such as New York City. For example, in New York City, McDonald's makes up a huge part of their economy, whereas other states, they might have different businesses that might react differently to federal minimum wage. So, in summary, I've given you 3 reasons why raising the minimum wage to $15 would not be good for the United States. It would lead to automating the service industry. It would lead to outsourcing of product and less jobs for minority populations. And of course, it would not be good to make this a federal mandate because each state has a different economy and the cost of living is different in every state. So there should be no doubt in this room that a minimum wage of $15 would be good for the United States. So, next time you guys are picking out that shirt, obviously respect the person that you're buying it from. And next time you're driving through that McDonald's window, just remember, it might be one of the last time you hear that phrase, "Would you like fries with that?"
Thank you. That was 8:16. I didn't stop you because you were on a nice roll, but you need to time yourself and see how it's going. So you work within the time limit. Okay, where are we? Thank you, Hi, Peter.
I liked her volume a lot. I liked her enthusiasm, how clear she was. Her structure was very organized, and she went by that structure that you gave us. And every point that she said, she had backed it up. She had credible sources. I thought it was overall a great speech.
And that makes it convincing, doesn't it?
It did.
When you have arguments and you have authority, you can stand back behind it. So it's not just little old me saying it. You've got the Pew Research Center, etc. And how about you?
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, Alyssa.
Melissa.
Oh, Melissa.
Yeah, sorry.
Hi, Melissa.
Melissa. I really liked how you were able to connect to the audience, mostly through your quirks. You might not believe me, but I did my research. So it makes you as silly as this may sound, it makes you a person rather than someone who just wrote it on a piece of paper and is not presenting it and memorized it. It really made me feel like you put a lot of hard work into it because not only because you memorized the whole thing, but also because you seemed really into it. You're very knowledgeable. So it was a fun speech to listen to.
Let's talk about that first. Rachel Leah. Gosh, there were so many things I liked about this speech. I don't know where to start, but I'll start with the idea that you had some very enduring personal, emotional points that you made, and you said, I feel strongly about this, and you told us your feelings about it, and that helped us connect with you too, as well as these enduring little things like I did my own research, or close your eyes, or that sort of thing, or everyone, these, it just kills me, but these people that think they're doing the third world this big favor by raising the federal minimum wage really haven't talked to economists and done the research that you've done. And it's very interesting to hear this debate being argued. So let's go through this. And by the way, if you hear a speech going on, don't walk in. Wait at the door until you hear the applause. Thank you. Yeah. So you told us what the current rate is, $7.25, the current federal minimum wage. I kind of probably would have added that's the lowest, and states have higher minimum wages than the federal mandate. Just not to make it seem so darn low. But in any case, your Fortune article in 2015, where you broke it down and you said who these workers were was just absolutely excellent. And that really set the context, and that was an excellent thing. So on your, you said it's good for us in theory, but it'll not work in practice. I thought that was a good thesis statement. And your preview was excellent. It was detailed, told the story. And so, your SIG statement, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't really buy it. I think you could have done better. Do you all remember what her SIG statement was?
That we should.
Election and Hillary and Trump. Hillary has actually come out in favor of the minimum wage, but of raising it, and
Yeah.
Trump has come out against it. So you have a choice there, actually. But they have waffled. You're right. But I think a better sell to this group is, some of you work for minimum wage, don't you? And some of you have friends that do, and some of you care about this issue, and so you'll want to be well informed when you go and vote. So you're not. I know you care about these issues, and you want to be well informed, so you're voting for the right decision, that sort of thing. Okay, on the automation, absolutely brilliant. That's right. 90% of these are franchise, 6% on a buck. There's no profit margin. It's already happened in Europe. It's going to happen here. It's already happening here. No, it's not going to happen. No. What are you going to do? Pass another law they can't automate? Come on. Outsourcing, again, from the LA Times in 2016, real recent evidence from the LA Times. A good quote, a cute quote, a clever quote. It's as bad as Trump's wall, I like that. That was excellent. I like that you presented Felix, a personal story that you worked in there. These weren't just, meaningless statistics, but you told us a real live and breathing person that, yeah, you skipped this Governor Brown thing. He's out to lunch on this anyway. Anyway, so on 3, about the cost of living being different around the country was just well argued and excellent, and the Georgia-New York thing was was well argued and well documented from the Pew Research. Your summary, your conclusion, and tieback were all well done. Your goal is to make eye contact, to respect my audience, and to make mindful movement. How'd it go?
I think it went okay. Yeah. I think eye contact's sometimes difficult for me because when I was younger, I was always taught not to stare at people because it makes you less nervous.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that that's something that is really important for respecting your audience and for being a really good storyteller. Making that personal connection during your speech can be really powerful. So I worked on that more. And then you obviously explained how you'd like mindful movement to be. So that was very helpful for me. So
Good. Let's do a little exercise with you with eye contact. And the way you all can practice making good eye contact when you practice with a friend, not a mirror, is have your friend hold their arms out like this, and this is one person, this is another person, this is a third person, and you practice going back and forth and making 5 seconds of eye contact without blinking. Because the blinking, you break the contact. So I'm going to test you. I want you to start here, and if you blink, I'll start the clock over again.
Okay.
And so tell us about your morning. Take a step this way. Tell us about your morning, and then I just want you to talk.
Okay.
And let me get a close-up of your eyes. Okay, there you go. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Need a rest though.
Okay, good. So here we go.
And I'm just going across?
Going across, yeah.
Okay.
And just tell us about your morning, and I'm going to count at 5, but remember, no blinking.
Okay.
You're not allowed to
Breath.
blink. So no
Okay.
blinking when you're making eye contact.
Okay. Yeah, I know. So my morning was really nice. I got to sleep in because one of my classes was canceled. So I woke up at around 11 o'clock. And then I was like, I'm going to not make breakfast because I have some leftovers from novels. So then I went into the fridge and I looked inside and I couldn't tell if the food that I had was bad. But then I was like, I should probably eat it anyways because I don't want to make any food right now. So I take the food out and I then look at one of my other roommates and I'm like, does this look bad? And she's like, it looks fine, just eat it anyways.
Okay,
So
stop. Did you feel the difference of 5 seconds?
it's long.
It's long, yes it is. But that's as long as you can take it. And 3 to 5 is what we're working on. But if it's shorter than that, you're not really connecting. But the studies are pretty clear. 3 to 5 seconds is an optimal time.
Okay.
So work for that. But you did a really super job. The only problem is you just went overtime. So you need to work on word economy and practice getting this within your time limit. And you'll be fine. But you did a really super job. Thank you. Okay. Another volunteer.
I can go.
Excellent.
Star.
Good stuff.
Can one
Everybody.
people tell me I have a star?
I respect you.
Thanks, guys.
You're a star. Oh my God. Wow, my throat. Oh, I'm dying.
Avion, huh? Not good.
It's just water I filled from home.
Oh, I see. You keep the bottle. That's like Sarah Silverman. What is she doing?
It was good when it was.
It was good once upon a time.
Yeah. Okay, stand back by the orange thing.
Really tall, so
I know you
so I'd be a lot of.
left to the left, just one step half forward, yeah. Okay.
The camera makes it more scary. Like I can do it in front of people.
So,
That's very true.
I'm a guest speaker just for my evening budget.
Like Josh Rosen takes his class, and it's like everybody watched Josh Rosen's funny speech.
okay, and we are rolling, and we're about to hear Ashley tell us what is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations.
Ready? Okay, cool. Hi guys, I'm Ashley. Before I get into the bulk of my speech, I'm going to tell you about this thing that's been plaguing me for the last 2 weeks. So I drive this car. It's a tiny little red Mini Cooper. Huge car, tiny person. Or tiny car, huge person. Sorry. And so I'm like driving my old car, like ask anyone, I'm not a very good driver. Ask my dad, not a good story. So I hit this curb and I'm in the Target parking lot. I'm like, crap. So I get out of my car, I'm like looking, I'm like, okay, everything's good. I get back in my car and I drive myself home. And I wake up the next morning to go to work and my entire front, like rear tire, my front tire is to the ground. I killed my tire, like hit that curb way too hard, flat tire. So I'm like, great, I don't know what to do. I'm away at school, I don't know how to fix a tire. So I'm like, I'm gonna log on to Amazon because naturally I find everything from Amazon. So I order my tire and it arrives at my doorstep 2 days later. So I'm like, great, this is cool. So I go to put my tire on and it's the wrong size. So I had to send that back to Amazon, get a new tire, got the tire, and then I realized I have no idea how to change a tire. So I realized I lack not only the expertise and knowledge about how to change a tire, which is like probably really bad and I should probably learn how to do that, but at the same time, I realized that this is kind of one of those things that like you actually need to go to a physical store to have an expert help you out with this. Which brings me to the question that I was tasked with today, which is what is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations? If you don't know what a brick and mortar is, which I was talking about this to my roommates, it's a physical, like more of a traditional type of store. So while we have that out of the way of the definition, my answer is that what is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations is that we've kind of like moved from this like generation that is like so hyped on consumerism back to a more traditional style of a store, which is signaled because we're all kind of in this age of nostalgia, which sounds kind of weird, but I'll prove it to you in 3 reasons in my speech. The first reason is kind of this like try before you buy mentality that even though we've moved to kind of like an only online type of consumerism, we still have this mentality. And the story about me buying my tire is kind of the same thing. Like you have to try a few times in order to get the right one. And this is shown by like the food you try at the grocery store that makes you want to buy things at Trader Joe's. And the clothes you try, sometimes they don't like always look that great, so you don't buy it. The second thing I think is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations is kind of this like peak of Amazon's like empire almost. And I'll talk about this later, but there's been a lot of research that Amazon has like chosen this consumer and they've already breached that consumer, so this is kind of broadening their impact. And the third is nostalgia, which again sounds kind of weird, but I'll get into it later. So back to my first point, what is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations is this whole try before you buy. So as I was researching this, the first thing I looked into was this LA Times article, and the author Nathan Reeder said that he went to the first Amazon location. It's in Seattle, and he said that he was walking around and like looking at everything, and all the books have their covers faced out so you can look at everything. It's really well lit, and they have these like Kindle Fire and all their technology that they sell. And so he was like leafing through all the technology, and because he tried it, it made him want to buy it. So because they have this option, you can go online and buy it, or you can buy it in the store. So it kind of just increases their like their online consumption. The second thing that is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations is kind of this, like Amazon's giant empire has kind of just been like exposed to everyone. So Amazon made, like, you know when you, like we're setting goals for ourselves, and throughout your speech you're going to say, oh, I made great eye contact, I had great volume. So Amazon does the same thing as a company. Like, we want to reach this consumer, we want to reach this person, we want to accomplish this goal. And so the New York Times wrote a piece on this in August about how they've actually like set these goals and then reached them. So because they've reached all of the consumers of our generation, like almost all of us probably have Amazon accounts, and almost all of us have probably at least ordered one thing from them. So because they've already reached this generation, they're kind of trying to go to another generation, which is like the 40 and up. My parents personally like just got into Amazon, so they're still kind of iffy on it. But because it's more of a traditional model, people feel more comfortable going in and trying things out before they buy them and seeing what this is all about before they jump in head first and order something online. And the last thing that is signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations is this idea of nostalgia. And America has this really weird sense of nostalgia right now where we all talk about like how things used to be. And like my grandpa always says, when I was your age. And I feel like I'm kind of going back to the 90s right now.
To the left.
Thank you. And I feel like I'm kind of going back to the 90s right now in that like we all, like you'll log in onto your Facebook and see these BuzzFeed articles like only 90 kids will remember, and it's pictures of like Lion King Wonderballs and I don't know, like the Amanda Show. And so I just thought it was really interesting that Amazon is moving back into a traditional model because people miss how things used to be. And like back in the day when we weren't worried about like wars and our student loans and stuff like that, and it was things that you were more worried about, like catching Rugrats every Saturday morning. And so I think this is really kind of interesting, especially to us, and I want you guys to have taken something from this speech because we're all people from this generation that have grown up in this like peak of consumerism. So this is kind of a really important aspect in our culture right now that they have decided that once we're all here, we can take a step down and go back to how things used to be. So in summary, I've shown you the 3 things that have been signaled by Amazon's move into brick and mortar locations. I showed you the nostalgic side, which is a little weird to think about, that we're all thinking nostalgia, but everyone looks back into the 90s and even past years just to see how things used to be. And it kind of shows America's love for a more simple time. And so if I haven't proved to you in this speech that we're all kind of looking back to past times, and Amazon's doing the same in these brick and mortar locations, then you can just go on your Facebook right now, scroll until you find a BuzzFeed article, and the next time you see someone playing Pokemon Go, let me know, and then we can talk about this speech again. Thank you.
Thank you. 6:35. Good. Okay, where are we? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is John.
Hi, John. Hi, John.
Young.
Don.
Young.
Young. Hi, Young.
I think she did an awesome job with her speech. I mean, everything was perfect. The tone, she used a variety of tones, and her volume was loud. Even though I'm not like a big fan of Amazon, I get to pay attention to speech. So I get more intimidated after listening to it.
So, because you're not a big fan of Amazon, you were kind of like thinking maybe I'm not going to listen so much to this speech, but she won you over.
Yeah.
Thank you, Young.
Thanks.
Improvement?
Hi, I'm Ash.
Hi, Ash.
I really liked the speech. I thought the delivery was really good. I thought the content was really good too because like you kind of connect to that. Everyone who probably does use Amazon, and it's kind of like nostalgia. Like everyone probably uses Netflix, but then and Blockbuster's like out of business. Then everyone's like, oh, I wish I could go to like a store and get a movie. So that was cool that you were able to talk about things that everyone could connect to. That was a good speech. The improvements, I don't know. I thought it was good.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, let's talk about your speech. First thing is, remember not to wear white to class.
Am I blending in?
Yes, you are.
Hello, YouTube. I'll be blending.
Yeah, you're blending. But that's cool. And your blonde hair and everything else.
Is it also blending?
Yeah, it's blending. But, we can see your blue eyes or whatever, so that's good. I liked your speech, and I liked your enthusiasm. You're a naturally likable speaker, and that's good. You started with a rather long story about screwing up your car and ordering a tire. And so I was kind of expecting you to come back to, I finally got that tire on my car or something, or I finally went to, Goodyear or some Firestone or something, So some kind of feedback to your most vivid story would have been a more succinct tie back thank you for defining brick and mortar. It needed to be defined, and not always in these topics do you need a definition, but you did in this one. What is signaled? You told us what is signaled. You gave us 3 reasons, 3 things that are signaled by this, so that was good. The significant statement you initially sort of were light on, and then you came back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would work on selling the speech earlier, and
Okay.
having that significant statement in there earlier, because you had a good one. We want to grow up and be consumerism and be back with the brick and mortar. It was a good significant statement. Just let it come earlier. I timed out your intro, SIG statement, preview, and it was 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And generally speaking, that was a little bit long for a preview. So you want to maybe cut that down a little bit and get more to the body of the speech if you can. But you didn't go over, so it worked out fine. But I'm just saying, if you have more to cover, then cut down that intro more and don't make it quite so extensive in the future. On the first reason, you gave this example from the LA Times. I forgot to mention the date. So that helps give it credibility. Was it 10 years ago, 5 minutes ago? That would have been helpful to know. But it was an interesting article, and someone going in there and trying it and saying, I actually decided to buy it was good. I liked the New York Times saturation, and you did quote August 2016, so that was real recent evidence, so I liked that. That was good. On your third reason, the nostalgia, a little hard to document this, but I got the idea that it was pretty convincing. Your summary was extensive and good. Your conclusion, there should be no, it shuts down something like there should be no doubt in your room, this is what it means, this is what they're up to, and then go back to your tire. I want to end on one last thing. I'd like to see you move purposefully and stay in the power stance. So I'd like you to get in the power stance now in the center of the room.
What's the power stance?
The power stance is feet wider than your shoulders. So we haven't gone over this?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't go over this in class? No. Okay. The power stance is, we come to the power center of the room, which you're standing a little too close to the board. Just come away from the board. It looks like you're afraid of the audience.
I'm not.
Yeah, okay. And your feet are wider than your shoulders is the power stance. And the next thing you do is you look around the room and you manage attention. You make sure everyone's looking up. If someone's talking or writing as she is, you just kind of go and get her to look up and to pay attention to you. Do it gently, not hey, you. I've had students do this. Yeah,
listen.
No, that's too aggressive. And then you say you're managing attention. Then you communicate respect non-verbally by saying to yourself, I respect my audience. Find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, which means you say your name. It's like the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Start your speech, okay?
Okay.
So that's the 7 steps to starting a speech. I thought we'd gone over that. Sorry. Well, this is the first time we're doing speeches, so that's okay. And so I'd like to see you stay in the power stance. And what happens when you see yourself tonight on YouTube, you're going to see that you're kind of moving around quite a bit and not staying in the power stance. Let your arms be by your side. Now what I want you to do is I want you to tell us about your day. I want you to take 2 steps to the right, and the way you walk is you lead in the direction that you're walking with your right foot. You don't cross your foot over. So if you're going to walk right, you step with your right foot.
Okay.
You don't cross over. And when you go left, you lead with your left foot. So let's take 2 steps to the left as you're talking.
Okay.
3 steps to the right as you're talking, and then come back to center. Just talk and walk. And when you come to a stop in the power stance. You were doing like this, sometimes crossing your feet together and not. You want to be like a tripod, and this will keep you from, a power stance. Pull the power of the earth. You feel the power of that. You can't be tipped over.
Okay.
It's a powerful way to stand. Okay, just tell us about your morning.
Okay, so I woke up this morning and I texted my friend Isabel. I had some homework finished. And then we texted about our homework, and then I went to go make myself breakfast. And I forgot that I didn't have anything left in my fridge, so I had Kraft macaroni and cheese for breakfast. And it was really good, just in case you wanted to know. And let's see, what else did I do this morning? Then I walked the perimeter of our campus. And what? That's a nice workout if you haven't done that before.
Ignore them, they're jealous. Okay, go on.
Yeah, and then I came to this class and that was...
Come back to center. Yeah, get in the power stance. Yeah. Do you see when you're not in the power stance, you do a little bit of swaying?
Yeah.
So you want to lose the sway and lose the excessive stuff like this. Just more meaningful gestures as you gesture. Your kanais were to keep good eye contact, not be nervous, know the speech, and to be confident. How'd it go?
I think good.
I did too.
I made some extended eye contact with these 2 lovely ladies here. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. No, that's great. That's what I meant by friendly eyes, because in every audience there's going to be somebody that's generating respect that you can feel. You go, okay, I'm going to talk to them. Concert pianists sometimes choose people in the audience to play to. And, so it's the same kind of thing. Find the friendly eyes and go for the friendly eyes, because they're going to be nodding and giving you encouragement. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, do we have another volunteer? Oh, we are out of time. Okay, you need a topic, is that right?
Yeah.
Anybody else on the people, you need a topic, need a topic, and the people that did their topic need a new topic. So stick around.
Okay.
Thank you. Return with honor.
I have a question. I was wondering if anybody is have already selected.
Here's the fast way to do it.
Oh, perfect. This is a quick question. As far as the outline goes, I wasn't sure how much to write of what I wanted to say, like just the main point, or like, because I left out a lot of what I was actually going to go into, because I was just going to go into it.
Yeah, I'd like to see you write the word thesis, 6 statements, main body, first reason, second reason, third reason, just go summary. In conclusion, should still be there, and write the word tie back so you consciously know that I'm coming to full circle. Where you started?
I didn't go sentence by sentence of what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Is that, do you want that?
That's kind of it. Brit,
Just these?
You start a poem, a quote, a story, a joke. What is this? Is this kind of a story or a make-believe story?
Well, I was trying to relate it to people because my whole family's from Argentina and my mom's father's from Britain, so I have both aspects, and I was just going to relate it to how when you see 2 people you love or places you love fighting against each other.
Say that.
I was going to say that, but I didn't write it. You want me to write it?
No, you don't have to. That's just enough to help you jog your memory. That will be there. And then when you rehearse it, you'll say it differently each time.
I noticed I did that. Is that okay?
That's the right way to do it, somebody said, because you're
Okay.
older and wiser each time, you'll think of something
Right.
new, and that's the way to keep it fresh.
Okay, and I have one more question.
Yeah.
As far as this goes, I had a little bit of a hard time finding very concrete facts because I'm trying to predict something that's going to happen in the future about will it affect the good relations with Britain. So there wasn't a whole lot of concrete facts. So is it fine, like my last point, I kind of, it was my own thinking.
Yeah, that's fine. The place you can go would be like those journals like Foreign Affairs, Foreign Policy.
Okay.
And see, they've had some speculation in the future.
Okay.
But that would be, but it's okay to do your own analysis.
Okay, good. And last question, sorry.
Yeah.
On the works that I did, like for example, this whole thing, how would I in the speech quote that? Like it was a long
Yeah.
article.
Yeah. Okay, you could say, if you know their qualifications, you can just say, according to Coffey, Bruno, and Gardner at the Heritage Foundation in 2013.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Lastly, I was wondering, can we propose a current event that is not?
You don't like any of my topics? No, you choose one of my topics
So it has to
start
be,
with. Yeah.
okay, that's fine. And then is it only the 3 pages?
1, 2, 3, yeah.
4.
4?
4 pages?
Well, what were you gonna propose?
The Wells Fargo. The Wells Fargo situations.
Yeah,
And
is that big in your life?
yeah, because I work in the fintech world, the
The
financial tech.
fintech world?
Yeah.
Ah.
And so that's like really big, and
Okay.
really
I
ethical.
know. Choose one of these, and then maybe your second one can be on that.
Okay, that's fine.
Fine, yeah. Honestly, you do one that's out of your comfort zone.
Okay, that's fine.
Did you want me to turn it in a hard copy next week, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine, yeah. Thank you for letting me use your telephone.
Did you guys?
No, you know
Oh, you go.
Yeah.
For our second one, can we propose a topic too?
Yeah, you don't like any of those in there?
A lot of them are about things that have already happened.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Past, yeah. Okay, well, write it out and throw it to me. Yeah, write it on there.
Right now?
Yeah.
Hi, I want to introduce myself. I'm
Hi.
Lacey.
What's your name?
Just out of the class.
Okay, otherwise,
Evening
you sit
photo. Yeah. And I'm from Australia, so like a lot of these like US things, because I like
What?
because I haven't lived here my whole life. I mean,
What a tragedy.
so I'm like not too familiar with
Where are you
some-
from?
Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do the worst of Greece's economic crisis behind it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Good. That's fine, yeah.
So do you have another one? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I noticed everyone has a pretty like account of how they're doing their speeches. I assume
That's in the syllabus.
and
yeah.
just follow it up.
Follow this prompt right here. Put in these words. Put in these words. Put all of it in the outline.
Okay.
And then you do a bibliography, APA style.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
I figured out which one I want to do.
Okay, well, did you put your name down?
Oh, this one's my copy.
Oh, get my copy.